Welcome back to Changing Greers. I'm your host, Brady.
And I'm Ben.
And today our special guest is Pat Healy. Pat fought in the UFC, went to South alum, and he goes by Pat Bam Bam Healy, actually. So let's start off here. What sports did you play at South?
When I was at South, I wrestled and played football, and I think just my freshman year I golfed as well.
Golfed?
Yes.
What is one of your favorite memories of Coach Defoe?
He's been here a long time.
Yeah.
Yep. Coach Defoe was my coach. And I really liked Coach Defoe. We had a great relationship. But my favorite memory was he used to, I don't know if he still does it, but he was always the scout team quarterback. So in practice, he'd be the quarterback on the scout team. And of course, he wasn't in pads or anything, so we would never hit him or anything. But he would always try to get me on a boot. I played defensive end. So he'd always try to boot around me. And he was pretty quick, believe it or not.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So we were playing, and he got a boot around me, and I was chasing him towards the outside and the sidelines, and I was right behind him, and he was running full speed, and I swear I just reached out and, tapped two hands, but with his momentum and my momentum, I hit him in the back, and he took a couple of steps and tumbled and rolled, and and I stood there, and I didn't know what he was going to do when he stood up.
Sounds scary, yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of like froze and looked around at the other coaches. The other coaches were all cracking up, and he stood up laughing, and it ended up being a funny thing. But yeah, it definitely had me scared there for a second.
Yeah. So while at South, what was your, could be greatest accomplishment or your just favorite? You got any big ones?
I don't know. There were a few accomplishments I fell short on that, kind of left a lasting memory.
Yeah.
But, I think beating, had a really good football team, and McNary ended up being the state champions that year, but we beat them in league play. And it was a great game. It was down to the wire, and I had a pretty big game. And just beating them, and celebrating with the team afterwards, and the camaraderie we felt was, probably my favorite memory.
As you just said, you played football. Did that play a part into you becoming a fighter, do you think?
I think so a little bit. It's certainly got me into wrestling. I was at football practice one day, and I'd kind of done some intramural wrestling, but the coach Coach Hughes at the time came in, kind of gave a little speech about how it would help with your football, and I thought, what the heck, I'd give it a try, and it worked out for me. So, yeah.
When did you realize that wrestling was something you really enjoyed and it was your thing? Was that in high school?
Well, yeah, a little bit right when we were coming into high school. Me and my brother, I have a twin brother, we got into mixed martial arts. And at the time, the UFC, it was pretty underground, so we'd watch videos and stuff, but that kind of pushed us towards wrestling. We didn't start wrestling until high school, but that kind of got it on our mind.
So after high school, you went to college, and then could you just kind of walk us through from high school and then to start professionally fighting? What?
We actually, in high school, me and my brother we had taken a few fights.
Okay.
So there was a small organization in Portland called the FCFF, which is still running today.
That's pretty sweet.
And my brother was actually, during my senior year of wrestling season, my brother wanted to do something, and we had been training a lot, and he got a fight and kind of prepared for that, and then he won. I finished wrestling, and then I took a fight right away. So we had a couple of fights while we were still in high school. I went to, after high school, I knew I wanted to keep doing sports. Mm-hmm. So wrestling was kind of my best shot at that. I was a pretty good football player, but I wasn't big enough. And I knew I wanted to fight eventually, so wrestling was going to help me get towards that goal.
What are some of the your favorite fights or best athletes?
Well, I mean, the best guy I got to get in the ring with Khabib
The best guy
Nurmagomedov
of
is
all
one
time.
one of the best of all time, and so getting to compete against him was, a really. I mean, I planned on beating him at the time, right? It's a good experience to look back on, and but there are a lot of fights, just up and coming fights, where you're just trying to make a name for yourself, and can really be pushed. A few, the fights in the UFC, I had 5 fights in the UFC. They were always really memorable because there's tons of people there.
Yeah.
You're fighting in front of. I mean, when I fought Khabib, there were 16,000 people in Toronto, and millions of people watching. So that's pretty cool to look back on.
For sure.
And some of the bigger fights, I had a pretty good run through 2012, 2013. That was kind of my height, and I was able to break into the top 10 in the world kind of for those years, and looking back upon that,
Cool.
an accomplishment I'm proud of.
How would you get in the zone like before a fight to get yourself amped up and ready?
I was always really relaxed. I would try to go in as relaxed as possible. So it wasn't really an amping up that I would try to do. It'd just kind of be a chill. That's always was kind of my vibe in the back was
Under control.
chill. We're laughing, we're joking, we're here to do a job, we're prepared to do it. All the nerves and stuff had already happened for me. I'd already tried to make myself nervous. I've already had tried to place myself there. So when you're in the moment, I was trying to enjoy it, and that worked pretty well for me.
So you'd fight like how many fights a year would you? Like what was it? What's a normal?
When you get to that kind of top level, it's 3 to 4 fights.
So you're just could you like walk us through what do you do for like training for those months before?
Yeah, you'd usually find out like you'd start like a fight camp for a specific opponent. That would be 2 to 3 months, depending on the time. Was pretty regular. So you would, that would kind of be, you'd shape it towards that opponent, but, I had 2 days a week, I trained 3 times a day, and 3 days a week I trained 2, and then on Saturdays we'd do 1 practice, and it'd be kind of a blend of, strength and conditioning. I always did a lot of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and it's still a passion of mine today, and then, putting it all together, the striking and then the MMA whole.
What I really want to know is what would you do before a fight to lose all that weight and cut weight and everything?
To make the weigh-ins.
Yeah. I never understand that.
That's a process. When I was fighting, I fought at lightweight, which was 155, and I walked around like without a fight schedule, probably about 180 pounds. So then I would start dieting, which I would control my calories in, eat really healthy and clean, no processed foods, and I would get down to about 172, 170, and that would be about a week or 2 before the fight. And then there, you're kind of just trying to maintain that last week of the fight. You may lose a couple more pounds, and at that point, that last week of the fight, you're really trying to hydrate. So you're just drinking tons of water, preparing for this big weight cut. And so mine would usually be around 10 to 12 pounds of water weight, and I would do basically, I knew I could lose 8 pounds in an hour. With sauna suits, sweats. I'd get my sweat started in the sauna, then I'd get on a treadmill and jog for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, jog 5, walk 5 for an hour. And you'd be drenched in sweat, and it would usually be right at 8 pounds for me.
That's insane.
So, it's a long process, but and I know that was a lot of rambling,
There you go.
the whole process, but yeah, the water weight's kind of the end of it, and that's when it can suck.
Yeah.
Was jiu-jitsu, that was your main style, or was that your... I don't understand, that's your favorite, or...
Yeah, wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I kind of just lump those together, like the grappling, arts. Something I love, I'm very passionate about. Me and my brother, my twin brother, literally just got off the mats grappling today, so right before this. So it's something I hope to do to the rest of my life, and
Sure.
and I got two young boys,
Keep 'em going.
so I'd like to get them doing the same thing. So
When did you stop fighting, and why? What was the case for that?
it was what 2000. Geez, how long ago was it? No, it was right at the start of 2019. So about 4 years ago, and I just knew my last fight. I was in Chechnya in Russia, and it was like you were traveling a lot, which was cool in a lot of respects. But your Chechnya is an odd place. Like you deal with some unfavorable people.
Yeah.
And so and it just really, it was my performance. Like I just felt like I could see what the guy was doing, but I wasn't able to act on it, and to me it just felt like it was time.
So it wasn't too hard of a decision for you. It was pretty...
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision.
Yeah, for sure.
I had fought since I was 18, and it was 15 plus years of fighting, and I'd given my heart and soul to it, and it was a up and down fun ride, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I got to experience incredible things. Got to travel the world, and all that was from doing a sport I wanted, all I wanted to do from when I was 15 years old. So it worked out pretty well for me.
That's pretty sweet. We appreciate you having on. That will conclude episode 3 of Changing Careers.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.